All right, let's talk Deckers. We're going to skip right past the boring stuff, the prepared remarks on their latest earnings call. Instead, we're jumping straight into the fire, the analyst Q&A. Because let's be honest, that's where you find the real story about what's next for huge brands like Hoka and UGG. So let's dig in. So on the surface, everything looked incredible, right? Deckers puts out another monster quarter. You've got Hoka and UGG both pulling in double-digit growth. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that usually has Wall Street popping the champagne.
But here's the thing. Wall Street analysts, they don't get paid to look in the rearview mirror. Their job is to look around the corner, to sniff out the risks and the big opportunities that are hiding just out of sight. You know, the stuff that never, ever makes it into the glossy press release.
And man, did their questions start to paint a different picture. Suddenly, we're not just talking about great numbers. We're talking about caution, about a really long-term vision, and about trying to steer this giant ship through some choppy economic waters. So what did they actually uncover?
Okay, so here's theme number one. Decoding their kind of cautious guidance. This was the big head-scratcher. Everyone's looking at these incredibly healthy brands and asking, wait a minute, if everything's so great, why do your future expectations sound so muted?
And Laurent Vasilescu, an analyst, basically steps up to the mic and asks the million-dollar question. He's like, hey, you guys were talking about Hoka growing in the mid-teens. Now, your new guide is lower. What gives? What happened between then and now? And the CEO, Stefano Caroti, comes right out with it. He says, look, this has nothing to do with our brands being weak. This is all about the consumer. They're basically anticipating that the average American shopper is about to get squeezed hard. Think inflation and the big one, new tariffs. So they're choosing to be realists here, not just cheerleaders.
And this chart really lays it all out. You see the original framework on the left? That was the world before tariffs were a big factor. Now look at the new guidance on the right. That little shift for Hoka, from mid-teens down to low teens, might not sound like a lot, but trust me, it's a huge signal about the challenges they see coming.
All right, section 2. Let's talk about the growth engine itself. Hoka. Now that we know growth is expected to slow down a bit, the big question becomes, how do you keep this rocket ship flying? What's the master plan to keep the momentum going?
And here it is, their 5-step playbook. It's actually pretty brilliant. Step 1, you dominate your home turf. Performance running and trail, you own it. Step 2, you expand into adjacent sports like hiking. Then step 3, fitness. Then, the big one, step 4, lifestyle. That's where the massive market is. And way down the line, step 5 is apparel. See? This is so much bigger than just selling running shoes. This is their blueprint for becoming a true global powerhouse.
And this isn't just some vague PowerPoint strategy either. It's all about the product. They're dropping major updates to their superstar shoes. We're talking the Gaviota, the Mach, the Transport, the Speed Goat. It's all about keeping things fresh and giving people a reason to come back for more.
And here's a really interesting little tidbit that came out. The CEO basically admitted that 2025 was a learning year for them. What does that mean? Well, they kind of threw too many new shoes at the wall at the same time, and it just diluted the message. So the big takeaway for them is to be smarter, more disciplined, make every single launch a major event.
Okay, on to our third big theme, and this one is a bit of a puzzle. For years, the story with Deckers was simple. Direct to consumer, or DTC. Sell directly from your website, make more money. But all of a sudden, their wholesale business, selling through other stores, is exploding. And the analysts are like, whoa, 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 what's with the change in strategy? And you can kind of feel the real question they're asking, right? The fear is your direct business slowing down? Are people losing interest? Are you pushing into wholesale because you have to, not because you want to? That's the real worry. But management had a fantastic answer. The CFO, Steve Fashing, completely flipped the script. He said this isn't a retreat, it's an attack. He basically argued that, believe it or not, they are way behind their competitors in being in actual retail stores. The whole point of this push is just to get more shoes on more feet and to find new customers wherever they happen to be shopping.
And here's the magic number they're aiming for, 50%. They want a perfectly balanced business. Half of their sales coming from wholesale partners and the other half coming directly from them. So this big push you're seeing now, it's all part of that master plan to get to that 50-50 sweet spot.
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the money. One thing you got to know about Deckers is they make incredible profit margins. Seriously, some of the best in the business. But with those big, scary tariffs on the horizon, everyone wanted to know, how on earth are you going to protect those amazing profits?
And to give you an idea of just how big this problem is, check this out. They put a number on it. If they did absolutely nothing, the new tariffs would smack their bottom line for $150 million. That's a huge number. But of course, they're not just going to sit there and take it. They have a plan. They're going to use a 1-2 punch of smart price increases and, get this, getting their factory partners to share some of the pain. And with that, they think they can claw back somewhere between 75 and 95 million of that hit. That's what you call a proactive defense.
And the CFO really wanted to hammer this point home. He said it over and over. The reason our margins might look a little weaker is not because we're having a big sale or because our brands are struggling. Nope. It is one thing and one thing only. It is tariff-driven.
So, let's take a step back for a second. When you put all these pieces together, the cautious outlook, the big push into stores, the fight to protect their margins, you start to see the bigger picture. You start to understand their core philosophy.
And this quote from the CEO, this is everything. This is basically their constitution. They are planting a flag and telling Wall Street, we do not run our business quarter to quarter. We are building brands that will last for decades. In a world that is obsessed with, what have you done for me lately, that is a really, really bold statement. So what's the bottom line here? Let's recap. First, they are absolutely playing the long game, putting brand health above everything else. Second, that big push into wholesale, it's totally strategic, all about getting global reach. Third, they're getting smarter about how they launch products. And fourth, they are not just sitting back, they are actively fighting back against things like tariffs to protect their profits.
And all of this leaves us with one massive, lingering question. Their strategy makes perfect sense for building a brand that lasts forever. But we live in a market that has the attention span of a goldfish. It wants speed, it wants results now. So can Decker's super disciplined, patient strategy actually win in a world that is moving faster than ever? That right there is the big unknown.